All right. Welcome to this Sunday's episode of Who Joins a Cult? A fun segment where we interview someone in Unicult about Unicult and figure out what's the deal with all this business. Today, I'm joined happily by a familiar face. If you follow the Unicult channel, which you should, this is Resist Impulse. And since his daily videos are starting up again, I figured no better time than to go ahead and sit down and have a little chat. Resist, how's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So we'll just start off kind of with the basics. How did you find Unicult, and what about it grabbed you to the point where you decided to join?
So I was listening to a Canadian true crime podcast that also like Weird Things podcast, the Nighttime podcast, and he interviewed Unicole, and that piqued my interest. I think I'd previously heard about Unicole once or twice, and then I subscribed and hit that bell and noticed that Unicole was going through some serious difficulties and documenting it live. And it was like every day or so. And I was like, holy shit, this is super brave for someone to say, this is difficult and real, but I'm working my way through it and you can too. And so that's why I joined.
Awesome. Yeah, there is something really good about that kind of level of authenticity. And it's certainly the antithesis of when we think about cult leaders. That's a clear distinction we can make between what we're doing here and people's misconceptions at times. So I think that's really cool that that grabbed you. And, Unicole's been on Nighttime since then. I'm sure you've listened
Yeah.
one more time, and I think Z will be a regular guest, which would be very cool. So, did you, when you joined, did
Uh-huh.
you have any preconceived notions or expectations?
Not really. There was some stuff about the path to joy, and I thought I could use more joy in my life. And here's someone that's saying they can teach it to me, and it was pretty much that simple.
And once you got into the Discord, which we talk a lot about on this channel, and Unicole talks about, and Ghosty talks about, we talk about, how great the Discord is. What was that experience coming into the actual community for you? The scripture, the teachings is super great, but what's it like once you dipped your toes into the actual vibrant community?
Well, I felt like it was very welcoming right off the bat. I went into the introductions channel and introduced myself, and I went to the Tuesday night prayer circle, and that was a really simple activity um, that was very welcoming to everybody, and so that was just a fantastic initial activity. Um, and then I went to Thursday church, I believe, and then there was like another prayer circle at a different time that was more like musical inclined. And yeah, it was just a week with an activity every couple days that was super welcoming, and so I was just like, wow, this is pretty rad. Like this is like a regular church in a lot of ways where they got different activities you can attend and stuff. Like I'm understanding this. So
Oh, that's cool. And I mean, those are events now that you not only participate in, but there's things of your own, like is right above your head that you created and work on as well. Before we get into that, because I definitely want to touch on the daily download since that started back up on the channel, let's double back. Growing up when you were young, formative years, what is your religious or spiritual background that you'd be willing to share before finding Unicult?
yeah, so my dad, after separation and or divorce, bounces around to some different churches, and I think there were different like denominations or what have you. And I got an adventure Bible early on, and I had this epiphany while I was reading it. In the book of John, it talked about God is love. And so that just like made total sense to me. And I was really committed to Christianity. I got a Jesus fish tattoo on my back, but eventually I realized that like we weren't really practicing what we preach, sort of thing, in my opinion. Um, you know, so I just kind of fell out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's certainly a lot of, I mean, that's a whole separate conversation, I guess. Um, I think one cool thing that you experienced in 2020 was getting to go around and meet a lot of Unicult members in your kind of cross-country traveling. So what was it like? I mean, we thrive online, and there's certainly, we've met up at different times for different reasons, but never like a whole bunch of us. So what's your experience been like?
Well, I think everyone is just people, right? Like the fact that we all belong to the same thing, to Unicult, I don't think um, was too much of a common thread, except for that's how I met them. You know, it was a bunch of different personalities and walks of life. Um, I think the biggest trait that was probably shared is being more like empathetic person. Um, but yeah, I got along better with some people than others. You know, some I got along with great right off the bat, and um, you know, everyone was loving though.
That's pretty awesome. I'm also really thrown off because there obviously our cameras are positioned differently for us, and so I feel like a giant over here. Like,
Sorry.
not intentional at all. That's really cool, and that was a really great period. We missed having you around in the server, but seeing you, meet different members and post pictures and hit so many different states and members of our community is super cool. That's really magical. I mean, I'm sure everyone had a good time. So in Unicult, you are a magician level member.
Mm-hmm.
So you have ascended up some of the ranks. What's that process been like? Like for someone who doesn't quite get the different levels, who may be watching who's not a member, how would you describe the process?
I think the most important thing, in my opinion, is understanding core concepts of the fundamentals and taking them to heart. And that's like you walking on your path to joy and being able to forgive people completely. I mean, we have instructions on how to forgive people in the book. And yeah, like the tasks that are involved or time periods or whatever restrictions I think are manageable and aren't the important part of that journey. I think it's just realizing that we're all on journeys, and some of us are at different points in our journey, and sometimes our journeys kind of loop back over again to learn a lesson a second or third time. But I think that's the most important part.
That's cool. Just for the record, there's not really any restrictions. Um, it's just, I think the path to joy is called a path for a reason, because sometimes we, veer off the path, or we need to start over or something like that. That's why it's not the slide to joy.
Exactly.
It's not fast, and it's not easy, and it's not like you don't just sit statically and let it happen to you. One thing I'm trying to ask everyone who sits down here, and I think it's an important question, especially for people who aren't in Unicult, is let's talk about the word cult. What did you think? And because it's been said it's kind of like a barrier to entry, how did you get over the barrier to entry?
Uh, I've been told I'm an extreme centrist. I've been told that I'm a devil's advocate. I've been told all sorts of things that are like just, tenacious. I challenge, and so the word didn't really. It wasn't much to me at all to overcome. Um, I've been part of other activities that you could joke around or cults. Um, you know, I I'm not stumbled by words really.
Well, everyone reacts differently, and it kind of builds up different ideas in everyone's head. And definitely hear a lot of the same thing from people that come into the community, kind of like you said earlier very well. So let's talk about what's above your head, the daily download. Everyone who's watching, tell everyone what's the daily download, why should they watch it, why should they like it, why should they share it?
So we did the daily prayer for over 100 episodes, and we did the daily affirmations for at least 30, if not 40. And I wanted to keep expanding on what I did, and we finally pinned it down what the through line was. And we rebranded it as the daily download, and that it's just short videos that have a Unicult theme or inspiration to them. So whether they're going to be little mini sermons or lessons or prayers or affirmations, it doesn't matter. The core idea of the daily download is short little bits of Unicult themed or inspired content. And so that's why you should check it out, so you can get a daily dose of unicultism.
Perfect. And so, yeah, and the daily prayer ran for a really long time. And that's, of course, super appreciated because it's good to have things that we can put into our routine, like listen to a prayer in the morning or something like that. Where would you like to see the project as it is your project? How would you like to expand it? How would you like to see it evolve over time? Let's say in 3 months. Do you want it to be exactly how you're doing it now, or what would you like to see?
I think in 3 months from now, I would like to see me closing in on the 100th episode of the Daily Download. I think it would be expanded outside of the Daily Download. Daily Download. It would be expanding myself into things like trying Thursday Church, and giving longer sermons and longer form content. I tried to get other people involved with daily affirmations and daily prayers, and it didn't really catch on for very long or consistently. And so, with the daily download, I'm removing those expectations, and just taking it on myself. And so I don't expect it to change much in 3 months. I expect me to change in 3 months.
That's nice. I mean, that's just as well. There's just I just ask because we have so much content coming out, and obviously this is an important key of it. Sunday's a very important key of it. Everything that we do works in harmony to make this a growing channel, and that's why I was just kind of wondering that. So to close off, first, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's
Thank
a
you.
big deal to go ahead, and we'll put ourselves out there on the internet forever. So to everyone who is curious about Unicult, or maybe they're hesitant, or they're a little Unicult, go ahead and just sell everyone on why they should join.
Well, if you're curious, come on in. That's what I think. If you're just the littlest bit curious, come on in, because you'll soon figure out if it is something that you're vibing with or not. And so there's no easier or quicker way to answer that question of curiosity than coming and joining us. You can come join us on Sundays, or you can go to Etsy and pick up an application to join us on the Discord server. But in any way or fashion, come and join us.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, come check out what we're all about. Resist, do you want to plug any social media or anything before we finish up here? Where can people find you if possible?
I have a personal YouTube channel, which is just Resist Impulse, and the same for Instagram. And those are the two areas where I usually update people on my adventures and whatnot. So if you're curious about the adventures I had meeting a bunch of UNICULT members over the summer, then go check out my Instagram. I documented it there.
Fantastic. But most importantly, like, subscribe, and favorite that daily download.
Thank you.
Comments, lots of comments too, everyone. Well, Resist, thank you so much. We look forward to so much more media creation and your presence in the Discord and everything that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Unibless.
much, Erin. Unibless.